You think you know me.
With Edge making a return at the 2020 Royal Rumble and becoming the talk of the wrestling world recently, I feel now would be a good time to go back and look at his humble beginnings in wrestling. Adam Copeland has had an extremely decorated and storied career, filled with ups and downs, big wins and key moments, but it always did seem that he was destined to be great. Once Edge made it to the WWE main event picture, he never really left, going on to become one of wrestling's true standout superstars. Edge's return this year was special for a lot of reasons. When Edge was forced into retirement, it felt like he was ripped away from wrestling while he was still in his prime. While Edge was at peace with going home and stepping away from the ring, fans were legitimately upset that one of the greats was gone too soon. When Edge's theme music hit at the Royal Rumble nearly 9 years after he retired, it created one of those moments in wrestling that don't come often, but when they do, you just know you're witnessing something special, something that will be replayed over and over again for years to come. Edge somehow managed to keep his emotions held in as he ran into the Royal Rumble match to one of the most thunderous ovations in recent memory. So let's go way back to the beginning of Edge's WWF career and take a look at how he was introduced to audiences, his early portrayal of the Edge character, and his first lot of matches. Adam Copeland was born on October 30th, 1973 in Ontario. His mother was a single parent, with Edge stating that he has never met nor seen a picture of his father. Growing up, he was into hockey, the band Kiss, and he became captivated by wrestling after seeing Hulk Hogan on TV. He met his lifetime best friend Christian, real name Jason Rizzo, in the 6th grade, and the two would grow up together and eventually work together. The two were inseparable during their younger days, and they both attended wrestling shows together, trying to get autographs and pictures with their favourite superstars. In high school, Edge's friends voted him as most likely to become WWF champion. His friends in high school weren't wrong. Edge attended WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, with his mother explaining that it was hard for her to afford tickets, but she wanted Adam to see his childhood hero, Hulk Hogan. Edge explained that WrestleMania 6 was the first time he felt electricity at a wrestling show, further cementing the fact that he wanted to become a professional wrestler and nothing would stop him. After finishing high school, Edge and Christian noticed a competition was being held to receive free wrestling training from Sweet Daddy Siki and Ron Hutchison. To enter, the guys had to write an essay on why they wanted to become professional wrestlers, and Edge ended up winning the competition, with Christian not bothering to enter the competition at all. Both Ron and Sweet Daddy Siki agreed that Adam was a good looking guy, he would be marketable, and he was level headed. Edge said that his training was difficult, he didn't have it easy, but he did stick it out. To make sure he had something to fall back on if wrestling didn't work out, Edge attended college while taking small and infrequent bookings beginning in 1992. Edge graduated with a degree in radio broadcasting, choosing this subject because he was shy by nature. Edge felt that radio broadcasting would help him come out of his shell a little more as a performer. Christian eventually paid for training using money from his college funds, and the two began working together around Ontario. These weren't necessarily independent shows that Edge would work, in the early days at least. It was more like spot shows that old-timers would put on in gyms and high schools. Edge and Christian though would find quite a bit of work for the International Wrestling Alliance, a promotion based out of Manitoba. Edge worked as Adam Copeland, Adam Impact and Sexton Hardcastle. Now, on Edge's WWE DVD documentary, they tell the story that Edge gets a call from the WWF and he gets a tryout match with Bob Holly. This much is true, but the documentary fails to mention that Edge worked in WCW before his WWF tryouts. Edge worked as Damon Striker and had two squash matches may I add, against Kevin Sullivan and Meng on WCW Pro. Back in Ontario, Carl DeMarco saw one of Edge's matches in person and he suggested that he sent the tape to the WWF. This is how Edge got the tryout match against Bob Holly shortly after his WCW matches. Carl DeMarco was the president of the WWF's Canadian operations from 1995 all the way to 2009, and along with this, he was also Bret Hart's business manager. Thanks to this relationship with the Hitman, Carl DeMarco was able to facilitate a meeting between Bret and Edge in 1996. Edge travelled to Calgary and met Bret Hart, with Bret saying he could see how determined Edge was to make it as a pro wrestler. Edge worked out with Bret, getting training from the Hitman along with Ken Shamrock, Test, Mark Henry and Kurgan, and when all was said and done, Bret promised Edge he would put in a good word with Jim Ross. A few months later, Edge got a phone call saying there was a possible contract waiting for him in the WWF. Edge went to Stamford where he was surprised to learn he would be having a short match with Michael Hayes, and after the match, Michael Hayes told Jim Ross that Edge was definitely a keeper. JR offered Edge a developmental contract at $210 per week, and Edge accepted the contract. The WWE also agreed to pay for Edge's outstanding college debt of around 40 grand. So Edge made his WWF debut on the June 22nd edition of Raw, defeating Jose Estrada via countout. Edge made his entrance through the crowd, with Jim Ross telling us that Edge is some sort of tortured soul, and nothing else was really known about him. Just a quick side note also, Edge had plenty of WWF experience up until this point. He had worked a ton of dark matches on Shotgun Saturday Night and on Raw. Anyway, back to Edge's debut, and during his entrance, clips of his Titantron flashed on the screen as this mysterious tortured soul made his way to the ring, and nobody, not even Edge, knew what the character was supposed to be. Adam had given himself the Edge name, but apart from that, he didn't know what his character's motives were or what he was trying to put across on TV. Edge later said, "I don't think the WWE knew what to do with Adam Copeland. I don't think Adam Copeland knew what to do with Adam Copeland. They said, okay, we want you to be this mysterious guy. I mean, it was all very cool visually, but I had no idea what it was and nobody else did either. I was just this silent guy who would occasionally scream because I didn't know what to do." So Edge's debut match then, it didn't go too well. The match ended prematurely when he performed a somersault senton from the ring to the outside, and he landed on his opponent, Jose Estrada, quite awkwardly and legitimately injured his neck. Estrada stayed on the outside and got counted out, and Edge left through the audience again, and that was it. Of note though, Edge's very first offensive move on TV was a spear. Edge was then moved on to Shotgun Saturday Night and Sunday Night Heat tapings, having matches with Jeff Jarrett and Brian Christopher in the process. His next big match came at SummerSlam 1998. Sable had been feuding with Jacqueline and Mark Mero, and at SummerSlam, Sable was scheduled to work against Mero and Jacqueline in a tag match. Edge was revealed as Sable's surprise partner. It's interesting to watch this one back. Out of all 4 participants in this tag match, Edge would go on to have the greatest success, but Edge must have been the most nervous person in that ring. SummerSlam 1998 was held in Madison Square Garden, and although Edge had some television exposure and worked in decent sized arenas, nothing could compare to the Garden on pay-per-view. All things considered, the match went on without a hitch, with Edge and Sable getting the win. Just before SummerSlam, a new superstar appeared in the WWF known as Gangrel, and Edge took an interest in Gangrel, watching his matches from the audience and things like that. Soon enough, the two would be involved in a feud, leading to a match on the September 14th edition of Raw between Edge and Gangrel. It was implied that Gangrel and Edge had some sort of past, but everything was kept under wraps. Not much information was given about their possible history. Their match on this episode of Raw ended in a double countout as Edge missed a dive over the top rope, and we were left wondering what the relationship between Edge and Gangrel really was. Edge's next big pay-per-view match then was against Owen Hart at Breakdown 1998. A good match here that you should check out if you haven't done so already. Breakdown was hosted in Ontario, Canada, Edge's old stomping grounds, and going up against fellow Canadian Owen Hart was a good bit of booking on the WWF's part. This match also gave Edge a chance to show what he could really do on pay-per-view. He was having decent matches on Raw, but this match here with Owen Hart allowed him to stand out a little. If I was going to start a match compilation with the best Edge matches, then I'd start with this one for sure. Anyway, in the closing moments of the match, a new superstar appeared at ringside, distracting Edge and allowing Owen Hart to get a roll-up and pinfall victory. Edge seemed to know who this guy was, and after the match, he went looking for him through the crowd. This new character was of course Christian, and below the surface, this moment here must have meant a lot for both guys. After their long road together, growing up wanting to be wrestlers, working together and training together, here they finally were in front of a live pay-per-view audience at a WWF show. The next night on Raw, both Christian and Gangrel distracted Edge and cost him a victory.
You think you know me?
There's little point in me going further from here, as Edge would become a member of the Brood faction, and I've already made a video on this topic. If you want to continue on looking at Edge's early WWF days, I recommend checking the Brood video next. Shortly after the Brood faction dissolved, Edge and Christian became a full-time tag team, and this is where we will pick up in the future. But hopefully you enjoyed this quick look back at Edge's beginnings in the WWE, and if you're a more modern fan, hopefully you have a better understanding of how Adam Copeland got into the wrestling business. Thanks for watching.
You think you know me? You think you know me? You think you know me?